What's up guys, Syiler here with another guide for you. This is going to be a rare mount guide on the Ashes of Allah mount, and this is one of the more sought after rare mounts from people. It's a very awesome looking Phoenix flying mount. And to do this we're going to need to be level 85. We are doing this as a solo guide. I'll try and add a few pointers in for doing it as a group, but this is mainly going to be aimed at soloing and more specifically at a Ret Paladin. So, as I said, we're going to be heading to Neverstone, and as what you've seen on the map, the red cross showed where the entrance is. It is a raid, so you will need to be in a raid group. So just get a friend or someone to invite you, and I'm just going to be kind of talking over while we do the trash. Now, we will be clearing out the full sort of instance kind of up to the boss that drops the mount, and like all these mobs in this room need to be cleared out just for the strategy we're going to use for this, just to make sure there's no basically mess ups. I mean, you can not clear this room and leave some mobs alive, but it's not worth the risk. Things can happen, you can be knocked back in funny angles and end up pulling things that you don't need to pull. So just for safety we're going to clear it out, and if you loot everything as well you'll get a decent amount of gold, so it's definitely worth doing. Now, a lot of people think the boss, the mount comes from Allah, which is the boss that we're looking at right now, but they're mistaken. It makes sense, seeing though that you'd think the Fire Phoenix would drop from the Phoenix boss, but no. The mount actually drops from Kael'thas, which is the last boss of Tempest Keep, and that's on a 2% drop chance, I believe. So it's going to take you a while to get this mount unless you're extremely lucky, but if you are soloing it, then you've got no sort of competition. It's only you who's going to have the chance of getting the mount. Now, Allah, I'd recommend pulling. I've been knocked back into Allah by one of the mobs and ended up pulling it by accident, and, you know, it's not needed. So I end up just killing it anyway, and I think you get a few hundred gold for killing it. It's not difficult. If you can't kill this, then you're going to struggle to kill Kael'thas. What this will do is, when you pull it, it'll head to the far right platform. After about like 30% damage, it'll head to the next platform. A bit more damage, it'll head to the next platform, and then on its last section of HP, it'll head to the final platform. Once killed, it'll resurrect again in the lower section of the room, and you'll just DPS it down from there. It'll keep summoning these phoenixes. It'll fly up into the air. It'll put fire patches on the ground, so make sure you get out of them, and then it'll land back down on the ground and knock you back and do a bit of damage. So in general, it's not too difficult. As you see, I herb derp and run straight to the middle of the room and get knocked back. But apart from that, it's not too difficult. You need to be in melee range, otherwise it'll cast this like fire debuff, which will increase your fire damage taken. Apart from that though, isn't too much of a challenge. Now, soloing this is going to be a difficult thing. I don't imagine everyone's going to be able to solo it. I'd imagine quite a lot of classes will actually struggle with soloing it. So just keep that in mind. If you can't solo it, then don't think it's anything you're doing wrong. It just is. It is a level 70 raid at the end of the day. It was meant for 25 level 70s to do this. So being able to solo it is like, it's not a small kind of feat. The classes that should be able to solo this though are definitely Ret Paladins. I think Hunters are able to solo this quite easily, along with Death Knights. I'd imagine Feral Druids just because of the bear form. Maybe Warriors, but I think Warriors might actually struggle with this. Rogues I know can, because I have a friend Rogue who does this. So there's a few classes out there that can do it. The others may be able to do it, I just don't know many people who have actually done this solo as like Warlocks and Mages and things like that. So we're going to clear out the whole instance, pretty much. We're going to clear out both paths. As you can see, there's a left and right path to the boss room. We're going to clear out both left and right. We don't need to kill the other two bosses that are left, you can leave them on their own, but we are going to clear out the routes towards Kael'thas. The reason we do this is because when we pull the boss, we're going to run out of that room and kite the other mobs around the instance. And there's a chance they can go like an awkward route and end up pulling mobs that you've not killed. So then you end up with more mobs than you can handle and end up wiping. Now the trash isn't too difficult. They have a few things like a Blade Storm and a Blizzard, which can kill you if you stand in it and you can't really take the damage. But apart from that, it isn't too much of a challenge. As you can see, they're doing the Blade Storm there, and I do take quite a lot of the damage. I just tend to eat it because as soon as my Sacred Shield pops anyway, I can heal myself pretty much for full in one Word of Glory, so I don't mind taking the damage as it isn't really too much of an effect on me. Now, if you are looking to do this as a group, the downside to it is when there's more than one person, the boss will mind control you, basically. Mind control one person, which means someone has to be able to use the dagger, which dispels mind controls. So that's something you'll have to take into account, and that's what makes doing it as a group a bit more difficult, because you have to worry about things, but you are able to kill it a lot quicker than you would on your own. So there's pluses and benefits, so if you can't solo it, try and get like a 2 to 3 man group, definitely someone who can use daggers, just to help with that, basically. Now that we've cleared out both the paths, we're going to head to the boss, and I'm just quickly showing off my spec and stuff. I'm using the Word of Glory PvP spec, kind of, with a few differences. I've got the 10% Word of Glory glyph as well. And as soon as we pull the boss, what you're going to want to do is run out of the room. Now you need to make sure you run out of the entrance so you don't get locked inside. And this is where the clever bit begins. So we are actually able to kill these mobs in different portions of the raid, which means when we hit phase 3, I believe, yeah, phase 3, all these mobs are going to respawn at the same time, so you don't have to deal with them all at the same time, you can still deal with them one at a time. Now the first guy who spawns isn't too much of a challenge, he'll do a knockback, he'll also do a silence, and he is extremely slow. So what I end up doing with him is taking him straight to the entrance of the raid, just keep him completely out of the way so I don't have to deal with him for a while, and just leave him there. Now depending on what class you are will depend on what order you actually kill these in. So for example, if you're having trouble with the 4th mob, you'll want to save him till last, so you want to bring him to the entrance and maybe bring the first one closer to the actual boss room. So you'll see what I mean, and I'll try and explain that in more detail in a moment. So we're going to wait for the second one to come, he'll take a while. And we're going to kill him in the same spot because he's runs basically and the other guy walks. So killing these in the same place, they'll still get to you at different times. So we're going to kill the next mob in the Alar room. The previous mob just does a fear and a armor debuff or a bleed or something like that, a stacking bleed. This one's a bit of a pain for melee. It'll do a knockback which slows you when you're in melee range, and it'll also cast and do a conflagrate, which is a long, like, disorientate CC. I always kill her up here because I can line of sight her and just get her in a position that I want her in, just to be able to get in melee range and I'm not being knocked like too far away. And then we take her down. And we're going to kill the final mob just right near the boss room, and we're going to kill him first when everyone respawns. Now the reason I deal with him first is because of what he does. He'll put a minute debuff on you which will randomly stun you, and this is the worst one for me. Because you can't really do anything reliably. If you need to heal, you could be stunned when healing, so it's not very reliable. So when he's got the debuff on me, what I tend to do is just move around, dodging his bombs. He'll throw them in a spot instead of at you, so you can avoid them. And what I do is just kite him around, I don't kill him. I'll wait till the debuff's about to run out, and then I kill him, just so that I've not got the debuff for going into the next phase. The reason I kill him first is because of his debuff. I will get him down and then bubble off the debuff. If you don't have that option to like dispel the debuff, then I'd recommend saving him till last again, and then just doing the same tactic as we did a moment ago, where you leave him alive until the debuff's worn off and then kill him, because you don't want that debuff going into the Kael'thas fight. It's really a deadly debuff, to be honest. So now we're in phase 2, all these weapons will spawn. If you line of sight them, they'll all stack up on you and you can just AoE them down pretty easily. That's what I tend to do, just stack up and AoE them down. You don't need to worry about picking anything up, because we're doing this solo, so we don't need any of the weapons. And then we're just going to wait for him to respawn these mobs. So they're all going to spawn at the same, or resurrect at the same time, but because of where we've killed them, they're going to be quite far apart. So I'm able to kill him without any of the other mobs here, but I do make a few mistakes. I don't pop enough bursts, so I don't kill him quick enough, so I do end up having to fight 2 at the same time, which you don't want to do. But I do bubble off his debuff, so that's not a threat anymore. Kill her before the 3rd one comes. As I said, this guy just does a fear, nothing too dangerous, to be honest. Get him down, and then we'll have to wait for the final one. Now, the final one I use as kind of a reset. I allow myself to get full mana, I allow myself to get my cooldowns nearly back off, I allow myself to get what else? My 3 holy power ready, so I just use him as like a reset just to get myself prepared for the next fight. As I said, he isn't really too dangerous as a melee because all he does is silences. This could be a problem for a ranged, I'm not too sure. Now when we get into Kael'thas, if you're a class that uses a pet, I'm not sure if the pet will class as another player and he'll mind control you. So if you are being mind controlled doing this solo with a pet, then just dismiss your pet and you're going to have to try without, otherwise you're not going to be able to do it. And it'll just mind control you and reset. So now that Kael'thas is here, we're going to use this door to line of sight him. And the reason we're going to use the door to line of sight him is because he'll cast this fireball, which you can line of sight if you've not got an interrupt up. He'll summon phoenixes, he'll do a disorientate, which is quite a pain. This phoenix can be killed, and then you'll have to kill the egg to make sure it doesn't respawn. He'll also cast pyroblast, pardon me, which isn't interruptible. Isn't line of sightable, but is interruptible. So you need to make sure you line of sight that. Interrupt that. Because if you don't, it's a really hard hitting spell, so you need to make sure that's interrupted. That's kind of the main priority in terms of interrupting him. Now once he gets to 50%, he'll go and do some arcane explosion stuff and do a little like speech for about 10 minutes, so you'll sit back, get a coffee, wait. Now the good part about this is it allows cooldowns to come back up once more, and just gives you a time to sort of recuperate some mana and health. So he'll come back in, he'll be at 50%, and he'll basically make you fly. Now, at this point, I just stay away from him, just because he's in such a confined space. He does abilities that are like an AoE on the ground kind of thing that will reduce your HP. So I'll wait for that to be finished. I'll just sort of stay back and stay not on the ground. If you're on the ground, I think he does more damage. So line of sight is fireballs. He'll still cast the phoenixes and things like that, but that's pretty much it. That's the end of the fight. Now that part's quite simple. So hopefully this guide's helped you out. If you have any questions or struggling or anything that I can try and help you with, I'll try. But as I said, this is going to be quite a challenge in general. It's not something that's easy soloable. So good luck on the mount and good luck on soloing. Thanks for watching guys. See ya.